So why don't we find out what you want out of this panel? If you come up and ask questions, line up at the mic. I'm just self-directing here because we're having anybody moderating. If that's okay with the other guys here.
Sure.
I've actually done classes already. I've done improv classes at DC Improv in DC. I've actually done voice training for Edge Studios.
Wait a moment, can everybody hear all right? Cool.
So I've done voice acting, I've done improv training as well. There's if you indulge me in just a couple of questions that I actually had. As I was training, they talk about your concentration. They ask you, what do you actually want to do? For me, it was like, I wanted to, in a sense, fall into something that is, more for me by recommendation. So they told me narration would be more of a thing for me because of the way my voice sounds and the way I read. So if it was you, when you were first starting out, did you already know what you wanted to do when it came to your voice acting, or did you just fall into it and it just became comfortable over time?
I fell into it. And by the way, we ought to talk a little bit about agents, because that's the only way to work at the level that we all have worked at. You need a voiceover agent, and how do you get one?
Too,
and we ought to talk a little bit about that. But I did fall into it, and I'll tell you how I got a voiceover agent. I was signed by a commercial agent in Los Angeles. I had done theater, and I finally moved to Los Angeles because you got to play with the big kids at some point or another. And I was walking out of his office, and in a side office was this gentleman. He had a little black beard, and he had he had a nice head. And
that's good.
And I said, who are you? And he said, I'm Steve Tischerman. And I said, what do you do? And he said, I'm a voiceover agent. And I said, oh, what is that? He said, well, if you're on radio or if you hear TV or I do animation. I said, oh, I can do that. He said, yes, I'm sure you can. The door is right there. Thank you. And I said, no, really, I think I can. He said, okay, then I want you to make me a tape and bring it in, and we'll talk about it. So I went home, and and at this time we were using reel-to-reel tapes, kids. I mean, I'm talking Stone Age. And I made a reel-to-reel tape, brought it in, and he said, I'll take a chance on you, and he started submitting me, and it went from there. So that's how I did it, but that's a key that you have to unlock that door, or you're never going to get anywhere. So how do you get an agent? How do you get an agent, guys?
Well, it's becoming, I don't want to be discouraging, but there's a certain level you have to get to now in LA, currently, to even get an agent.
Yeah.
Many agents are going to only take you if you already have a lot of work. So how do you find an agent that here's the thing. You can start non-union, because you have to. Say you're not in Los Angeles. There are agents in Texas, agents in other states, I know there's one in Seattle, that will take you if you're non-union and get you started at least, so you can get familiar with what it's like to even work with an agent. Once you move to Los Angeles, there's no way to even, I know how you prepare yourself in terms of how to learn how to act. You network. You go to events that, maybe workshops. I know there's a lot of workshops in LA where they do have groups of actors that can let you know what's currently going on with agents and who's looking for people. And
how did you get your agent?
the very first agent, I had come from Canada, already union, and already had shows on the air in the States.
All right, well,
so I had an unusual path.
Yeah.
But it is just sort of
If you're walking in with money in your hand, they want you. If you're walking in with no credits and you're just, you kind of come off the street, they're not interested. And especially the agents that are going to be able to do something for you, because there's tons of agents in LA and New York and Chicago, but there are only a few that will be able to get you into the situations that you need to be in.
I think I know a way. It's a puzzle. Anime, there's still a lot of non-union anime that's going on.
Yes,
you
indeed.
start working doing that. That was really the first animation that I did was anime. And there are agents that work with that in Texas especially. There's Funimation in Texas, a lot of production going on. If you start getting that kind of work, that might start getting the other agents interested in you. And then you can get a door into union. Because anime is now both union and non-union.
Right.
It doesn't pay a lot, but it helps you learn the craft and move on into other types of voice acting.
Nope.
And I'm sorry, go ahead, Paul.
Go ahead.
There's also a lot of original animation, which is being done non-union, and it is a great training ground. And also, there are smaller markets. Before you get to the point where you're going to go to LA or New York or Chicago, Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth, that area, that's where
Atlanta.
Funimation is. Atlanta, huge production center. There is more film production in Atlanta now than in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
Asheville, North Carolina, big production. There's actually some around DC here. Not so much, but there's an awful lot. With all the businesses here, they're always looking for people to narrate their videos and so forth. So you need to work on getting your tape together, your reel. We say tape, or we say reel.
Yeah, what are
but
they
it's-
submitting these days? I don't even know.
It's a
MP3.
thumb drive.
Is it?
You said it's
MP3.
MP3.
It's not even
MP3.
physical anymore.
So you
Digital
don't bring a thumb
audio.
drive in or anything like that?
No.
And there are, for people just starting out, there's a couple of websites, VO Planet and Voice123.com, respectively. They, you go there, you submit a sample to them, you sign up with them. You can either get the free membership, which gives you very little opportunity, or you can pay for a membership, which gets you submitted other places. And there you are, you're going head-to-head with everyone else who is on VO Planet or Voice123.com. But it is a real quick and dirty tutelage in just how the business works. And every time you submit something, you are getting better. Until you get to the point where you have something that you can send to an agent. Any place where there's production, there's going to be agencies. And they are looking for more meat to feed the machine, because it is a growing, voracious appetite that needs to be filled.
Now, I'll combine your question and how to get an agent. I started out in, everyone, like I said, everyone has a different way of getting into this. I was an actor in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's a great theater town. I did a couple of years of improv, and then moved on to doing musicals and different things. I started doing a lot of commercials, on-camera commercials, and then one of the fellas that we were making $100 a week at this improv theater, and one of the guys had a day job. His day job was writing copy for training films for 3M and Control Data and Pillsbury. And they needed someone to read their training films. So he asked me if I would come in and read some. That's how I started doing the first voiceover things that I did. Okay. From that, I got a couple of, voiceover things, well, actually a lot of voiceover stuff in Minnesota. I became a big shot in Minnesota, in Minneapolis. I was working whenever I wanted to work. We were there for 10 years. We bought a home as actors, which was amazing. But then it was time to be a nobody again. So I decided I was going to go to California, and I was going to give myself 5 years to get a series. If it didn't work, then I'd come back to Minnesota, which we love. Went to California. I didn't have an agent. I took my videotape, my VHS, as well as my audio tape, and I had one friend out there who was a very busily working actress, and she was with this wonderful agency called Sutton Barth and Bonari, SBV. She asked them if they would look at my tape. They liked what they saw. They signed me on camera commercials only. That's all I had. And they said they had everybody they needed. They had Goulardi, they had Ernie Anderson, they had everybody they needed voiceover. So they said, we won't hire you, we won't follow you, take care of you voiceover-wise, even though they had a voiceover department. But on camera, cool. And I said, you keep me working, I'm happy. So I started doing that, and I was just lucky. My 6th audition, I got a national commercial. And then I got another one. And the on-camera guy was showing the voiceover folks my tape one day, because I had booked really quickly. And they said, you got to check out this dude. So they watched it, and as she was watching it, she said, oh, there's something in his voice that I really like. So she called me in for an audition. And I booked the first audition I had. It was the voice of a pickle. Yeah, it was a pickle. They flew me up to San Francisco. I did the commercial for the pickle company, and he was a shy pickle. I got that. And then they said, okay, well, let's give you a try. And then I had like the 40 auditions and then get a job, then 45 auditions and get a job. And things were going all right. And then I did a play where I played 3 characters. And someone who was the casting director and director at Hanna-Barbera came, saw that show, liked my work, thought I was a good actor. He contacted me, found out who the agent was, contacted the agent, brought me in for what they almost never do anymore, general audition, where he had me read like 10 different types of characters, from the big dumb guy to the younger character, a wizard, to everything they could think of. And then he started bringing me in, and I started doing work for Hanna-Barbera. And that's how it happened for me. The agent was, I wouldn't have, the reason I got, so my on-camera agent suggested me to the voiceover agent. Voiceover agent said, cool, we got you. I still didn't have a theatrical agent for movies and TV and theater. My on-camera agent saw the play and said, oh, who are you with theatrically? And I said, I don't have anyone. And he suggested someone that they see me. And that's how I got my theatrical agent. However, right now, I don't have a theatrical agent. I have a voiceover agent only. I don't do on-camera commercials because I just don't want to. But as for theatrical agents, it's really difficult to grab one now. And I have a manager, and that's all I need at the point.
They may not know what theatrical means in terms of what we do.
Theatrical, okay, there are 3 types of agents in LA, or actually 4 if you're doing extra work. You got your on-camera agent, commercial, you got your commercial voiceover agent, and you got theatrical. Theatrical handles movies, TV, and stage. And because I do all of it, you should have all 3 agents, or at least an agency that handles or has all 3 departments. So there are 3 different things to play with out there.
Just don't stay at home and expect the phone to ring, because it doesn't work like that. People have to know who you are.